And we are live. Let's see. Nobody here yet except you and me.
Outstanding. To keeping right in with the rest of the day.
Right?
I don't know if I've got an hour's worth of material to keep you entertained, Michi.
Yeah, well. It's been pretty crazy around here. Well, shortly before I got off work this morning, I got a notification that one of the Chrysler plants I worked at over here had a pretty bad accident, and they're still not saying exactly what happened. There's all kinds of speculation in that, and
sure.
Well, all we know for a fact is that they're saying a 62-year-old Detroit man was killed. One of the local, independent media sources, independent media people is saying that he was crushed. And I'm sitting there thinking, when I worked at that plant, like, there's not really anywhere to get crushed, because the line, the assembly line, it's an engine plant. So the assembly line literally sits 4 feet off the floor.
Yeah.
So that what you're working on is at about waist level. So it's going to be interesting to try to find out what the heck happened there.
They have any of those overhead cranes?
No.
On the tracks? Huh.
Nope.
That's weird.
Everything's done on the ground, and when they get done building the engine, it goes onto a pallet that goes into a rack, and then the high-lows take the racks and take off with them. So,
they got any fat ladies working there?
They got a little bit of everybody working there.
I'm sorry, Lord, that ain't right.
I know. I know what Chrysler was paying their people that worked the lines when I was there, and this guy must have been getting paid pretty good that he's driving from Detroit to Dundee, which is literally the plant's 11 miles from the Ohio state line.
Wow.
So you've essentially, if you look at a map, you've got to drive from Detroit to Ann Arbor and then south.
Man, can you imagine doing that every day for like...
That's what I'm saying.
30 years, Michi?
Well,
holy smokes.
My head used to hurt just driving the 38 minutes from where I live right now to there.
Man.
Hey, Vegas.
Hey, Vegas. Good evening.
But yeah,
good evening.
We've been catching it from all directions here in Michigan, like the last week and a half. Between the weather and everything else. So,
you guys have had it rough up there this this month.
Well, there's still people up north that don't have power from that ice storm a week ago.
Yeah, good.
And then they got a second one. They got the one a week ago Sunday. They got a second one on Wednesday, and then I saw pictures on Facebook. There's a guy sitting at a Subway sub shop up in St. Ignace, Michigan, just across the Mackinac Bridge there in the Upper Peninsula, sitting at a picnic table outside, nice sunny blue sky day, eating a Subway.
Wow.
Michigan can't make up its mind.
Contrast, yeah. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Mike. Vegas, I got a quick question for you. Are you guys Mountain Time or are you Pacific? I've always wondered that. Emerald. Well, what do we have here? He smelled the burning britches seats.
Right, there you go. And then I've got to find a way to get a hold of the video and send it to you. I have to see if they've got it on their YouTube channel, but the NBC affiliate up in Marquette, up in the UP, put this video out today. And all I could think of, if you've ever seen those stupid Liberty Mutual commercials with Emu, and Doug.
Yes.
Well, I think Limu got sick of Doug and made a run for it because somebody's got video of an emu. There's still like four feet of snow on the side of the road. And here's this emu running down the side of US 41 like he's running for his life.
Ooh,
he must have he must have finally gotten sick of Doug and made a run for it.
Well, they do have a commercial that where he runs away, right? He runs away from home.
He's probably running back to the farmer that was cussing him out when he ran away.
Yeah. Kind of miss having those emu egg omelets for breakfast, eh?
Yeah. But that's definitely, I know a lot of people may not get it, but an emu is not a bird that you would typically see on a daily basis in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
No, or anywhere in the continental U.S. As far as I remember,
cranes everywhere, but an emu.
You got sandhill cranes up there?
Oh yeah,
nice. We're like it's a tourist industry here,
right?
And they're protected, of course, here, but there's actually a hunting season on those. They're supposed to be like the champagne of bird to eat. They're supposed to be extremely tasty. Wow. I know they're a lousy, squawky, noisy bunch. I mean, they're pretty to watch flying and all that, but man, you get them by the thousands, and it's like being married all over again.
Well, I went up to the UP one spring, took a friend of mine that had never been to the Upper Peninsula before, and we're going to lunch one morning. We're driving down the highway, and there was one on the side of the road, and at the last minute, he decided to take off, and all I could think of, because my friend is like ducking for cover in the car, and all I could think of was the scene from Top Gun when Maverick's like, "Sorry, Goose, but it's time to buzz the tower." Because literally, if he would have been about 4 inches lower, or I would have been about 2 seconds faster, I would have creamed that damn bird.
And there goes the windshield.
Right.
Yeah.
And probably the A-pillar, because this thing was huge.
Man, they are pretty good sized birds. I got this one little bit of shrinkflation that I was telling you about before we got on here. Now, you guys, this really has absolutely nothing to do with anything, but I felt the need for some reason to share this. We're all aware of shrinkflation and how things are changing. And now I was snacking today, and I became painfully aware of how bad things have gotten. Even in the world of snack sized candy bars.
Oh boy.
Because okay, well, like one of my favorite candy bars is, I like Nestle's Crunch. That's the Nestle version of it. The Hershey's version always has been the Crackle, right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, shrinkflation has set in.
Oh yeah.
we now have crack bars.
Yeah.
I look at how much extra wrapper there is.
Oh yeah. It's all
wrapper
that? and no chocolate.
How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Cash me outside. I just had to share that with you. I don't know why I felt like I should do that, but I just thought a little levity after the last few days would be a sweet spot.
Well, yeah. I've got I call them the youngsters at work that they laugh at me. I'm the grumpy old man because I'm the one that's always, and it used to irritate me when I was a kid, but now I'm, as they call me, old, because I'm old enough to be half of them. I'm old enough to be their dad. I remember when this size only cost this much, and you walk up to the vending machines at work, and that bag of potato chips that used to be $0.25 is $2.50.
Mm-hmm.
And that bottle of pop that used to be 60 cents is $2.50.
Yeah, I've been marbling at that myself recently. It's like, man, like $1.59 for a Snickers bar that's half the size it used to be.
Yeah,
crazy.
Or when you used to get, at least when I was a kid, I remember when you got you went out trick or treating and you got those snack size candy bars. I mean, there was at least 2 bites out of them.
Yeah.
Now you're lucky if you get one bite out of them.
Yeah.
You know, like the Snickers and the Milky Way and the Three Musketeers and
yeah,
stuff like that. So.
The fun size.
Oh yeah.
Well, you mentioned the beverages. I think I saw like Family Dollar right down here. It's like a block from the store or from the house, and it's like $2.59 for a 20-ounce.
Oh yeah.
A 20-ounce Mountain Dew now. Holy smoke!
Yeah.
Let's just make you want to get a part-time job.
And that's like even there's no such thing as a dollar store anymore.
Yeah.
Dollar Tree's $1.25. And then they've even got stuff that's like $5, $6, $10, and
Well, I think everybody should have kind of been expecting that. You know?
Oh yeah.
Constitutional.
I'm sold. I remember when there used to be 99-cent stores.
Yeah. Well, it's still worth 99 cents. It's just it takes $2.59 now to.
Oh yeah.
So I gotta have a good evening, Emerald. 210 came in. Hey. I forgot what I was gonna. Oh, Constitutional Stacker asked me about what I thought about the tariffs, and I thought my answer was, albeit rather long, was precise and spot on, and he messaged me back. I disagree completely. I was like, oh, okay, well. Maybe I'll review mine. I think it's a good move. I think the world just can't. The world is more dependent on us than they want us to know, and I think it's a good move, personally. Yeah.
Now, when I say this, I don't mean it as a dig in any way, shape, or form. I know you got a couple of years on me, okay, but. I was born in 1973, and I remember growing up, everything was always buy American. USA won. America first. Buy local. You go to your local mom and pop grocery store versus the big box grocery store, or what we had back then that you could call big box grocery.
Yeah.
We never left the neighborhood for anything when I was a kid because we had a Main Street, Verner Highway. They had everything. Every one of those businesses on Verner was family owned. So you were putting your hard-earned American money in other hardworking Americans' pockets so that they can feed their kids and clothe their kids and put a roof over their head and send them to good schools and that. And now this country's gotten to the point where, okay, yes, and I'm guilty of this too. I have an iPhone. Hey, Tuli's in the house.
Hi, Tuli.
I have an iPhone. Yeah. And I when I think about it, I feel kind of crappy that somebody probably got paid $2.50 a week to make my phone over in China. Okay. We need to make that here. Okay. Are you going to pay more for it? Yeah. And that's, to me, that's the point behind all these. We need to start growing our own food on farms. We need to start producing our own cars and parts here. The technology, we can do it. It's just nobody wants to pay an American living wage to do it.
Yep.
So there's your tariffs. And, me living where I live, and maybe, Julie can attest to it because we're not really that far away from each other, but we've got we got 2 international border crossings, about to be 3 in Detroit, one about an hour north of Detroit in Port Huron, one 6 hours away from Detroit up Sault Ste. Marie, Canada to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, where our people are doing everything they can to keep the bad out. But the Canadian government could give, and pardon my expression, everybody, could give 2 shits less.
Yeah.
They don't care what's coming across here, but by golly, don't send it to us.
Yeah.
Where, they talk about, oh, we found this truckload full of this, that, and the other thing that came across from Detroit. Okay, well, what about the 15 trucks that came over from Canada that we caught?
Yeah.
They should have been caught before they even got on the bridge. But with those that will be the way they will be, I see it all the time on some of the community Facebook pages. Community, I mean, like for the area where I live, where, oh my God, why was there a Border Patrol truck driving down Dixie Highway? Maybe because there's an international waterway right there. And basically, I know you, Cranky, you won't really know this, but Dixie Highway eventually turns into Jefferson Avenue, which goes from way down here by me, almost to Toledo, all the way out to middle Macomb County. So a good distance. And primarily all of that is right along the Detroit River. Well, down here, Lake Erie, the Detroit River, then Lake St. Clair. And goes, well, it actually goes, if you know where you're going, darn near goes all the way up to Port Huron. So yeah, you're going to see Border Patrol back and forth down there. Well, and this, and there's always, there's always something to complain about. So, but I don't have a problem with the tariffs if they're in place for the right reason.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to be honest with you, Michi. I feel like I'm a little bit naive, for the Midwesterner. And I mean, that's obviously that's who I relate to, because that's where I am.
Right.
But for the Midwesterner, we never really thought about the northern border. I mean, until these guys noted in their Border Patrol is hiring, that made me think, gosh, it really truly is an international border. And the southern border gets all the headlines and all that. Well, gosh, if I was a nefarious dude worth half my salts, I'd be going, well, where's another place I could go? Yeah.
Well, and the thing a lot of people don't know about the Border Patrol, and there's several guys that I grew up with, went to high school with, and that went to work for the Border Patrol when they got out of the military. And there's a couple of them that actually still do work for the Border Patrol. And what they don't tell you when you go to these hiring, or these job fairs and that, oh, hey, come work for us at the Border Patrol. They don't tell you until you're about to graduate from the academy that regardless of where you're from or how well you do, your first duty station is more than likely going to be El Paso, Texas.
Yeah. And
you better know how to speak Spanish before you get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like they don't this, and I, I'm not trying to be political here, but this is probably the first president in a long time that's actually said, hey, wait a minute, we have a border to the north too, not just the south.
Yeah, exactly.
And another thing, and I said it before in other videos, I think a lot of this with Canada is going to settle down if and when, because Trudeau's already gone, but Carney is just Trudeau with a different face.
2.0.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know that much about the people that are running against him. There's a guy here on YouTube that is out in British Columbia and is very critical of the Canadian government. He's one that, he's served his country, and he'll tell you in a minute, he goes, I'm embarrassed to admit it because of, that's a lot of the stuff that's going on up there in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but he tries to keep it, middle of the road, not one side or the other.
Yeah.
But, he's pretty much, he puts out there, hey, look at this guy, look at this guy, look at this guy. And, we know politicians will promise you the world, and then when they get in office, they don't do anything. But They do have the one guy. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I'll screw it up. But he may be what Canada needs and what we all need to get things back to normal.
Well, and
as normal as we're going to get.
Yeah. I've got a hat that says "Normal isn't coming back. Jesus is."
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But that was one of my points when I was answering constitutional. It's like, the world, the globe is more dependent on us than media and the powers that be would want us to think. And you hear about was it the French front runner running against somebody that got put in jail for 5 years or put in jail and banned from political activity for 5 years. And I mean, it's happening all over the place. The common sense leaders are starting to put their heads up and go, hey,
right.
This is what we need as a sovereign nation. I think the global mentality is
right.
Hopefully fading a little bit. I flew into Port Angeles, up in the Upper Peninsula of Washington. And I flew into Seattle, then got a puddle jumper up to Port Angeles, and they actually had some terrorists arrested coming across the border into Port Angeles up there.
Oh yeah.
And people don't think about it. I mean, my gosh, I had like a 12-seater I flew into there and to do a project up there one time, and it's like in the middle of nowhere. It was like
right.
It was like an old Greyhound bus station, like one big room and people waiting to fly in and out. Hi, Dave Richardson. Hi, Pure Metals.
And this is something that is kind of a touchy subject with me just because of, my career and what I was doing at the time. People have got their political views on this, but my answer to them is that I was there, you weren't.
Yeah.
The individuals that brought down the World Trade Center,
mm-hmm.
and the individuals that flew a plane into the Pentagon, and the individuals who tried unsuccessfully to fly a plane into DC to hit the White House. 7 of those individuals that were involved in that came through ports of entry in Niagara Falls, New York, and Detroit, Michigan. And there was no questioning how they got here.
Yeah.
And of course, back then, all you had to do, going across the Ambassador Bridge, I pull up on the Canadian side. Citizenship, United States. So why are you entering Canada today? Oh, I'm going over here to, meet friends at a restaurant for lunch. Friends that live in Point Billy. Okay, sir, have a nice day. Off you go. You come back. You get over the United States side. What's your citizenship? United States. Okay. What were you doing in Canada today? I went over and met friends for lunch. Okay, you have anything to declare? No. You're on your way.
Yeah.
That's how it was until 9/11 happened. Now you've got to have a passport or a special driver's license, and you got a hair out of place. They're pulling you off to the side and searching your car and doing all sorts. But there are people that think that that's being overreactive. No.
Yeah.
They're people and everybody. I mean, we used to go over. We do these special details where we would go sit on the Canadian side of the Ambassador Bridge in the booths with Canadian Customs and tag cars for them. I'm like, oh, that's so and so. Secondary search. That's so and so secondary search. And yeah, we stopped a lot of crap from coming to from Detroit over to Windsor, but the stuff coming from Windsor back over to Detroit, they weren't making any effort.
Yeah.
So
but they'll get it on the US side, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's kind of a side note. Not that it's funny, but it is kind of funny because kids thought they could get away with it. You know, legal drinking age in Windsor or in Canada is 19. Well, you get all these 19-year-olds pile in the car. They go over to Windsor. They get tanked up to come back across the border. And, of course, well, it was just, the U.S. immigration, which ran the booths at the bridge at the time. Immigration wouldn't stop them, but we'd be sitting there a minute. They pull off the bridge and squeal the tires, pull them over. And, well, but the legal drinking age in Canada is 19. Well, you're not in Canada anymore.
Yeah. Let's just stay there.
So we ended up being the jerks, but you know what? We may have prevented some kids coming back from Canada from killing somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Canadians don't pay attention to that.
No.
They're not all Canadian. Some actually do. And I'm not ripping on the good, honest, men and women of of Canada, but their politicians leave a lot to be desired. Yeah, like most ours too. So.
Yeah. Sorcerer Stan came in. Hi, Sorcerer Stan, Mr. Silver Eagle. Hello. So what do you what'd you pick up? Anything this week, Michi? That you did?
All I got, I've been laying low for the moment. Just some unexpected expenses came up, so but I did, and I actually ordered it a while ago. And our postal service being the way they are, all I really got was I picked up one of T's channel rounds.
I like that video that you did. Yep, that's a good looking round.
Oh yeah. Let me see here.
Hi, T-Bird.
There we go. Yeah, they did a good job on these. I know if I remember right, I think he said that was it Silvertown did these for him?
Yeah.
And I know there's people that like Silvertown and some that don't, but everybody collaborating and getting together to do this. They did a really good job. Oh, baldness alert.
Turn that light off.
Well, see, there you go. You see that right there.
Oh, look at that.
I matched my Funko Pop.
You need some sun, bro.
Well, hey, come on. I live in Michigan. Michigan's almost getting as bad as I got a buddy up in Vancouver, British Columbia, that talks about how beautiful the days are when it's like 50 degrees, but the sun's out. And I'm like, yeah, that's the way Michigan's going right now.
Yeah.
So I haven't been outside today, but they said we were supposed to get a mix of rain and snow today. I don't know if we actually did, but
we finally
possibly by the end of the weekend it'll be up in the 70s. So
yeah, we finally got some sunshine, but it's still in the 40s. I mean, we were supposed to get down to 27 degrees tonight. My peach trees all leafing out and everything. Same thing as last year. It's nuts.
Well, they laugh at me at work because fortunately, when one of the good things about this quote unquote merger that took place was they got rid of 3/4 of the chiefs and replaced them with Indians. One of the things they did is like, no, you come to work how you're comfortable. If you want to wear short sleeves in January, go ahead. They got rid of the neckties. They did all this other stuff. I had somebody look at me like I was nuts last night. Why, it's so cold outside. Why do you have short sleeve shirts on? Because it was 45 when I came into work, and to me, 45 is warm.
Yeah.
So.
T-Bird, thanks for he does that a lot. Always on break and picks somebody's stream to drop in on, or that's
what
cool.
I was doing all weekend because that's why I was doing that all weekend myself, popping in, popping out, popping in, popping out. That's how I was able to. I was able to catch about maybe 5 or 10 minutes GSF's auction yesterday. And then was able to pop in on the YouTube side with T doing his auction last night. And then popping in and out while MSJ and Thule were live last night.
That's such a good
It's like I'm here, I'm not. But fortunately, every time I said, "Is Michi still here?" Yeah, I was still there.
It's a nice, calm way to end a weekend, with MSJ and Thule.
Oh yeah.
So where do you see Silver at the end of the week? I kept thinking I wanted to
I
go out and get something this weekend. I thought, you know what?
If I say one thing, it's going to go the opposite. So
yeah.
For here, I'll say this for the people that want to sell their silver, it's going to go way down. So it'll actually go way up. Just that's my luck. Or if I say it's going to go way up, it'll bottom out.
I think we're going to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see 27.50. Honestly,
yeah, I mean it would be nice for those
$28. Maybe, but not by the end of the week. But you know, it very well could be by the end of this week because it's $2 days.
Also, I don't know if Tuli's still here, because I know she's been working a lot. But let me see here. She was showing off her Red Wings silver rounds that she got last night. And I'm like, man, I need to step up my game because this is the only one I have.
Oh, Dylan Larkin. Yeah. She's smoking you, dude.
Yeah, I know. She got all the Stanley Cup championship rounds, and I didn't even know silver came in those ways back when they won in '97.
Yeah, but back when the Cook brothers were.
Yeah. So back when they thought the fine people of Detroit were going to burn the city down because the Red Wings were going to win their first championship in 42 years. And they arrested one person just to say they could just so they could say they arrested somebody.
Yeah. Crowd control.
Yeah. He wasn't even doing it. Technically he was doing something wrong, but I mean, there's far worse things going on in the city of Detroit back then for us to worry about a guy standing out in the middle of the street high-fiving everybody as they drove by. Yeah. So they claim, oh, we didn't arrest him. We took him into protective custody because what he was doing wasn't safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Fair enough. So.
Well, Stacker Man came in. Hi, bud.
Yep.
Good. Always good to see you. That's the only 5-ounce bar that I have.
Oh, you got one more 5-ounce bar than me.
Yeah. Well, I got that below spot.
From
somebody in the community, and felt real happy to get it. I was, it was an opportunity for picking it up, and so, anyways, yeah, that was good. I got, I've been doing some pours, but honestly, I'm getting to the point where I need to figure out what I'm going to melt next.
There you go.
Because we had some unexpected expenses come up too. It's
that time of year.
Yeah. Well, I got 0 and 0 back on my taxes, if that tells you.
Oh no.
I paid more for my tax return than it was.
Right.
Probably worth, but it's pretty simple now. When you get on a fixed income, it's like W2 or W2-1 and W2-2 or whatever, the 1099s, whatever the government sent you.
I hate those.
Yeah. So whatever. I'm not liking it much, but
well, I've gotten to the point where this is what I'm stacking.
Oh, nice.
Working on filling that second bag before I send them out.
There you go.
And if you don't know what these are about, subscribe to Tuli and go back and watch her videos, because she actually said something about us saving these, and I think I'm probably one of the only ones that does.
That'd be a good link to put up if to get her video, or a post, not a link.
Yeah.
On that video. Yeah, my son, I picked these up from these aluminum pieces. They're a little over 5 ounces each. Mm-hmm. And I got those from Cherie Ward, and
they look like the old dots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I told her when she offered them up. It's like, I'm just paint them, paint them red, green, and orange, and go to the movies. But or you could put it in a sock and have them.
Oh yeah, you can put it in a sock and do some damage.
self-defense thingy there, but
Yeah.
my son started saving tabs because I told him I was wanting to start trying try pouring aluminum. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe eventually we'll see what happens with it. But these are about the only things I've poured the last couple of days. I got a little 10-gram bar. I got the hammered sides, but you can tell a difference in what I'm pouring now and running through the tumbler. And this is 18 grams. It just, look at how shiny that is compared to the old pieces I used to put out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, you got let me see here. I'm gonna make myself big here for a second if I can get it to work.
Yeah, the best thing about getting that tumbler,
What's that?
They sent a bag of rocks with it.
I saw that. I remember that.
Yeah, I was tickled to death to get a bag of rocks.
He thinks there's something bad with the way this one looks. I think it looks pretty darn good.
That's just horrible.
Yeah, when I say silver, that's silver.
That's the poster child face right there on that for silver is silver.
No, let me see.
Mike says buy it now. I like it.
Yeah, there. See, and then there's another one. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's not shiny, but hey, it works.
No, and you know what happened on that one, Michi? I think I told you that too. Is I hit that. I got these wheels, these little deals, and I thought, gosh, I'm just gonna burnish this, and it'll polish right up. Well, that was before I got the tumbler, and I hit that puppy with that thing, and it made it satin finish, and I thought, I just hung my head and went, man.
Yeah, but it still looks good.
I mean, if that's what you're going for, but that's
wrong with it.
That's not what I was going after that
day. I know you got guys like World Money Wins that wants to pick up his silver and be able to shave in it, but
yeah, and that's cool. Have you seen Bunker Bouillon does that stuff? Like, holy smokes. The mirror finish that guy gets on those, the ones I really like of his are the ones that he just kind of did a free flow pour. And and just left them in a cascade. Those things are so cool. Hi, Mandy's Candies. Yeah. Mandy's. Why do I always say Mandy's Candies? It's Mandy's Candy. No disrespect. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, no disrespect. Thanks for coming in.
She knows you. But see, then like me, I like the fact I can pick up that Cranky round and show it off, and it's not like doing this where I got to watch where I'm aiming it because I don't want to scare anybody or give anybody nightmares with the reflection. So,
I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, but in that silver round that you just got your globe shot of,
yeah,
you look like the top of Darth Vader there, man. You're seriously really your reflection in there.
Oh yeah,
I mean it's bright white, man.
You got the little white dome on top of the black foam.
I might send you a what are those indoor tanning lights? You just sit under it like my mom's got one. It's a daylight thing or something that the doctor said during the winter. It helps with seasonal disorder or whatever it is, and so she sits under it and reads books and stuff.
Well, see, I get up.
I fish
once the weather breaks for real, because it just everything is kind of like mush around here right now.
Yeah.
So once the weather breaks, ground dries up a little bit. There's a lot of places where we've got walking trails down here where it's like actual trails. It's not just like walking down a paved path next to the road. I get out and do my walking. I might accidentally forget my ball cap a few days and darken up the dome.
So. Well, you know what? It is a seasonal thing. Thank goodness. By the way, I love the thumbnail today. That was
well.
Good.
You know what? That was kind of me giving you a hard time without giving you a hard time, because I heard you commented something about the St. Louis Cardinals. I take it your baseball team is the Cardinals.
Oh, absolutely. Fourth generation. Well, my great-grandsons, my grandsons, great-grandsons are fifth generation now.
Okay. Well,
so
I was going to kind of give you a hard time because, you do have
They're not old
Triple A
enough to
team.
know it yet, but
You do have a Triple A team in your town.
Well, I felt bad too a little while ago, and I was going to say something because you did this video road trip all the way to Toledo and doing going to see the Mud Hens and everything, and I'm like 10 miles from the stadium, for the Storm Chasers, and I don't know why I don't go out there, but we do. The big thing here is the College World Series. I mean, that's every that's summer baseball here, and
right.
I don't know why. There was some conversation here a while back about Omaha buying the Tampa team and putting a pro baseball team here. They wouldn't support it. It's just not. It's not. Hi, being Becky. It's not. A town that would support a baseball team. I
get that. There's towns that they love their maybe their minor league stuff, or you get a town like up in the UP. You go up to Munising. Munising is that, I think that's the town that they based the TV show Friday Night Lights on, because like during football season, high school football, that entire town shuts down when the Munising Mustangs are playing at home. And even if they're somewhere like, a couple towns over one way or the other, that whole city shuts down and the whole city goes to wherever the Mustangs are playing. And that's just the way they do. And, not every town is geared for a pro sports team. They can't financially back it.
Yeah.
And I kind of laugh because here we are, 2025. The NHL is looking at giving an expansion team to, wait for it, the city of Atlanta. Okay, well, way back in when, you had the Atlanta Flames. Where'd the Atlanta Flames go? They're in Calgary, Alberta now.
Burned out.
Then, a few years ago, you had the Atlanta Thrashers. They didn't last very long. They're now the Winnipeg Jets.
Everybody's going north of the border.
And then you take the original Winnipeg Jets, you move them to Phoenix, Arizona. They're not ready for a hockey team back then. And all these years later, you turn around and you send them to somewhere in Utah. And you don't plan it because they don't even have a mascot. They're known as the Utah Hockey Team.
Wow.
And then I was looking at, and I sent you a screenshot of that thing where it says, here's the cities that are on the short list to get an NHL expansion team.
Yeah.
There's Omaha, Nebraska. It's like, no.
It wouldn't, no. It wouldn't fly.
Right. Or
it wouldn't fly.
And there's a plaque outside Fifth Third Field where the Mud Hens play, where a lot of things are, and I'm not trying to take away from any baseball fan and the history of the sport or anything, but it tells you who the actual first African-American player in the MLB was, and it wasn't Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson broke all those records and just wowed the world, but he was not the first African-American baseball player. And the Tigers, which we now know as the Detroit Tigers, when they first came into the major leagues, were actually a National League team, and they were based in Toledo. But Toledo, even back then, couldn't support a team, so they ended up in Detroit.
Yeah. Weird.
But I'm kind of shocked that they're looking at moving the Rays out of Tampa.
Yeah.
Because I thought they were doing pretty good financially down there. And I know
you'd sure think so.
Used to sell out just about every game. I don't know what they're doing nowadays, but.
Well, but you know what? How big is Tampa proper? I mean, it's not really that big a city either. There's a lot of money.
Well,
a lot of money there.
Tampa's put a lot of their energy behind their hockey team. So
yeah.
See, I knew if I mentioned GSF, he was eventually going to show up.
There he is. Hi, Farmer. Well, I tell you what, I did Fish. If you're still in here, he got 71 views on the last episode 2, the chapter 1 video that we're doing together. We got 71 views on that. I'm pretty happy with that.
You know what? I gotta say, if Fish is still here, I do have to say this, and I am far from being the best Christian on the planet. You know, I got mad about a few things over the years, and swore off church and all that. Never quit believing, just swore off like going to church. I used to open up my Bible a lot more often than I do now. But you two doing what you're doing is one of the greatest things I've seen in a long time. And it's actually making me think again and making me open up the Bible and look at it again.
Well, good.
Good.
It's not, and it ain't me. It's
planet, but you are reaching people. And I don't want to use the term getting in our heads because you're not, but you're reaching people and it's working.
Well, that's cool. That's all Fish's mission, man.
And I know I've made the reference in the past, especially if any of you guys that saw, I live streamed the St. Patrick's Day Parade up here in Detroit. And I made reference to the Bible thumpers. And then I made reference in a video about the individuals that were down outside Fifth Third Field in Toledo opening weekend, screaming and hollering into a bullhorn about how we were all going to hell just for breathing the air. And I referred to them as Bible thumpers. There is a difference between those individuals and what they do and what you and Fish are doing. And
you know what, Michi, that's I think that's a big part of why people hesitate to do anything. And it's Fish and I were talking, and it's like, you can have so much energy going into the cause,
right,
that the cause becomes the purpose rather than the purpose being the cause. And
I said something to my son about it, because we're standing there and he gets frustrated with these individuals very quickly. And for a kid that went, I went to a Christian school for 8 years, and and I was raised in the church and was very involved in the church even as a kid and a teenager into adulthood. And my son is not, because his mom is, she's not a practicing Christian. She's not anti it, but she doesn't do it either. But he's standing there, and the word came out of his mouth that was pushed into our heads when I was in school about this is what a hypocrite is. He and I have never had that conversation, and this guy starts screaming at everybody. And my son looks at me and he goes, "Wow, hypocrite." Like, yeah, I never even thought about it, because he's telling us how if we have a smartphone, we're going to hell. If we have a TV, we're going to hell. Oh, you're standing in line to go watch the sporting event instead of standing in line to go to church. You're going to hell. And he said it kind of loud too. He goes, "Okay, so we're all going to hell for having smartphones, but the guy that you just replaced, he's reading scripture off a smartphone. If he's a pastor, shouldn't he know that already?"
Yeah.
Shut the guy right now. He got real quiet, and the gates opened, and we didn't hear a peep out of him again. And they weren't there the next day.
Buy that man a beer.
Right? Oh, he had one, and we figured, he and I figured it out, because this is his first baseball season where he can actually have a beer. And we got to the ball game, got to opening day on Friday, both had a beer, they lost. Saturday, we both had a beer, they lost. Like, all right, dry Sunday, no beer, they won.
Well, Michi, I'm surprised at you actually because you know, and here's where my extra years on you come in. You need to start immediately getting that son of yours in training to have that beer before he goes down there and pays $10 a cup.
Well,
And
actually, you know what? I got to tell you, the prices aren't that bad in Toledo. That's what you're going to pay if you go to Comerica Park to go to a ball game.
man,
You know, the $14 beer and the $18 pop. So,
golly, it's
oh,
it's
yeah.
crazy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Is international in here? Huh. I don't. International 86 torque amplifier cable. I missed something. I'm missing something over there in the chat. So
Yeah, me too.
never mind.
LBS is here, was here.
Hi, LBS.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're talking
Anyway,
about tractors and other stuff.
Gotcha.
I had to scroll back to like, oh, okay, what?
That's way over my head. Way over my head. Well, I don't know how we got onto that because we were talking about the price of silver there a while back.
Yeah. No,
It's fun.
I think it's gonna bounce back and forth for a while, and it'll finally, find a spot and sit there for a while. No pun intended, but but no, it's like I wouldn't mind seeing, but you gotta remember, I'm buying, I'm not selling. I wouldn't mind seeing $27 silver for a minute.
Oh yeah, I mean, I need to have an auction coming up here, but
Right.
I wouldn't mind seeing it to do something for the benefit of everybody that's in the buying phase.
Well, if you're in the buying phase, it'd be really great to maybe have a dip that doesn't just last a couple hours, because I know everybody was talking yesterday about
Sunday night on Sal, it was like
it was down in the high 20s, and I went on
$28
and it was $30 and some cents. I'm like, dang it, I missed it again.
Yeah. Hence the term volatility.
Oh yeah.
That's why we love it so much.
And right now, I think I'm just kind of concentrating on constitutional, and maybe if I find something I just can't live without, something the other way.
I tell you what, I'd really like to start doing constitutional, because I know it really is for now is the best value, but I cannot find any. There are no shops in this town that will go under 28 times face.
Yeah, I honestly, I think
and I hear
the last time my son and I went out and saw our buddies, because I kind of keep my shop secret. I know at the beginning I didn't, but I kind of keep my shop secret. But the guys are always really good, and they're not trying to rake you over the coals because they want you to come back.
Yeah.
And I think my son and I got really lucky when we walked in there that Saturday, and it was 25 times face. So I had $5 face for $125, which I've never paid that low for constitutional. So
yeah, that's a deal. It's amazing up here. I don't know what it is. And it seems like there's always plenty of it, but
right. Well, and then on top of that, they're the only shop that does, and I hate to keep comparing everything to Harry, on Silver Dragon's channel, but these guys that my son likes to go see, they're the only ones that actually have that tray with the constitutional spread out all over it, as opposed to you got to buy a whole tube.
Yeah.
Like I've always said, you may only be able to afford $1 face at a time. Like MSJ is doing. Every time he goes to the coin shop, every week when he goes to the coin shop, he comes back with $1 face of quarters or $1 face of dimes. But a lot of the places around here, you can't do that.
And that's, that's kind of what that's, I mean, MSJ's smart for doing that. And that's what I should get in the habit of doing it. But, to me, it's like just where I'm at 28 times face for, for constitutional, it's not going to go down below that. So I may as well I mean, this is kind of the way I look at it. If I buy it, most of the time, unless it's from an auction or something like that, but most of the time, if I'm buying something, it's got to be cheap enough, for me to consider melting it.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's like a dual purpose.
You see, that's literally me and my, the regular Washington silver quarters. I mean, I've got like half a tube. So
all you guys in the chat over there, everybody, I don't know if Thule's still here or not, but everybody that is constitutional, cool? Is it against the law? Is it against the law to melt 90%?
I don't think it's illegal to melt pennies, but I think it's illegal to melt the rest.
Why? It's not circulated. Well, I guess it still kind of is, but nobody. Hey, there's MSJ.
Yeah, that's what I said. I keep saying names and people appear.
Oh. Deja vu there. 90%, Pure Metal says 90%. I am pretty sure you are good to melt. Okay. And see, that's
like when I'm afraid to melt any of it.
Well, and when I send stuff, to Stack Collector to disperse throughout the UK for me, it's it's listed as, I mean, they're not, I don't put it as currency.
Right.
I don't put it as silver because they pay the VAT on it, but I just put like collector piece or,
Yes. Well, I sent a package over to 365 and I sent him, I want to say I sent him a couple of copper rounds and I put it on there as collectible token. And
there you
they
go.
didn't hit him, and they didn't hit him for anything because I told them if they hit you for any kind of taxes or fees, let me know. I'll make sure you get reimbursed for it.
So MSJ says pennies are a no-no. So why is that? Why is SMC says illegal to melt copper pennies for a profit, but experimental or for art is okay? I think so. How do you? I think
it's okay if you melt and make bars out of them, but if you try to sell the bars, that's where they get you.
Okay, I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I don't know.
There we go.
That's our government at work.
Folks, if you'll look out your window to the left, you will see Michi and the Detroit Tigers. This is we'll be flying around, cruising around 10,000 feet. No, I don't know what brought that on.
Hey, we're gonna go buzz Comerica Park so we can get arrested like the idiot with the drone on opening day.
Incoming.
They had a guy that
I'm such a kid.
I don't know if it made the news out your way, Cranky. They had some idiot. It went up on the roof of one of the parking decks right there by Comerica Park on opening day and flew a drone into the stadium. Which is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, they had a concert going on there last summer, and somebody did that, and they actually evacuated the stadium.
Wow.
So.
We're so scared of our own shadows anymore.
Well, it just, crazy people doing what crazy people do. And I know, and there is actually a law that stadiums are drone-free zones unless, it's pre-approved and it's like a media thing. John Q. Public can't fly their drone into the stadium while there's a ball game going on or a concert or whatever.
Yeah.
And last time I was up north, we stopped at one of the Bridgeview parks up near the Mackinac Bridge. And this guy probably was in his late 70s. I was walking up to a bench, and he's got one of these Pelican cases on wheels. He opens it up, and he's got a drone that's like the size of my torso. Puts it all together, puts it up in the air, and all he was doing was he was taking video of the Mackinac Bridge. No ill intent, no, nothing shady.
Yeah.
And here comes the state police. You would have thought somebody had just robbed a bank, and they were screaming at him, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, because in the case of the Mackinac Bridge, it's a terrorist target.
Yeah.
Because as we found out with these ice storms and all that when you close off the Mackinac Bridge, you pretty much close off the Upper Peninsula from everything. Because
I can see that.
For some reason, they can come north and across the bridge, but they can't come west from Wisconsin through the UP.
That's why they all have bolts.
Yeah. So, but no, they actually declared an extra state of emergency up in the UP because none of the gas stations had gas. The trucks couldn't get across to deliver food to the grocery stores because they had to keep shutting the bridge down because of falling ice.
Mm-hmm. Man.
I mean, when that ice falls on that bridge, we're talking sheets of ice the size of medium-sized cars.
Yep, so. Absolutely. Well, we got some good talk over here now, Mike. I'm curious about this. He says he put a crackle in his pocket and it melted. Now, is that a sign of good chocolate or bad chocolate? At least it melted. It's not some GMO thing. But and we're getting some scheming on some pennies over here.
Right.
MSJ says sell it and run. That's good. Parrot 5, hi, welcome. Family friendly channel here. So if you're cool with that, then awesome, good, yeah.
Well, we all slip up every once in a while.
Oh well, we are adults, but
we're not perfect.
So hey, there you go. Apparently, some people know Parrot, Pyramids, and Farmer.
Well, cool, Parrot. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It's a show about nothing. Much we
get on here and we talk about everything. We'll talk about silver. We'll talk about gold. Talk about why the sky's blue and the grass is green.
Emergency services.
We get on here.
Boneheads.
Stress relief. Chill out. Chit chat about whatever. And
it is. It's a chit chat.
We have fun. We're not all gloom and doom is not a thing here. There's channels that are well capable of doing that. We're not it.
Oh, I can give you about 4 or 5 right now if you really want to know them. That I watch, and sometimes I wonder why. It's like, God, you got the same old. Yeah, World War III is tomorrow. Set your clock.
If you don't stack 1,000 ounces of silver by tomorrow, you're going to be left behind, and you're not going to survive because you won't be able to afford it. And
look what the government's doing to us now. Well, for God's sakes, we should have been looking for the last 50 years.
Right. Well, I laugh at some of these because that's all it's been on the TV the last 2 days is all these hands-off marches and that. He hasn't touched Social Security, Medicare, veterans benefits, and he's not going to. But that's their marching thing,
their mantra. Yeah, and it's, if you say something enough times, it'll become.
And what he's going after is the fact, and this is something that is a proven fact. Okay, from a law enforcement point of view here, you've got 7,000 people employed at the J. Edgar Hoover building in Washington, D.C.
Is that empty one?
For those of you that don't know what the J. Edgar Hoover building is, that is FBI headquarters. You have 7,000 people working in that building, of which 6,500 are at the job classification of FBI special agent. And of that 6,500-ish, approximately 6,200 of them have never worked a case, but they're getting paid as they've never been out of that building. They've never been on a crime scene. They've never been to a bank robbery. They've never been to any of these, cross state line kidnappings, human trafficking, all that. They haven't had boo to do with any of that.
Yeah.
Why are we paying them? They're not doing anything. They're taking up space.
Well, you gotta keep those parents in line around the school board meetings and such.
Or the 87. I don't think they actually got to 87,000, but the intent was to hire 87,000 IRS enforcement agents.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
Or here we're paying somebody $24 million a year to go sit on an iceberg up in the Arctic and monitor which direction the penguins are swimming. For what?
Did you see that video, that news story the other night where there's an entire building, government building, that has chefs, cooks on staff all the time. The kitchen is fully staffed. There's nobody in the building but the cooking staff and the maintenance. It's like, what in the heck?
And
SMC. That's only that peaceful protest is means only one building was burned.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And all my Michigan people can relate to this because this is something that actually goes back to when old cousin Jenny was our governor. The wonderful Jenny Granholm, who served under Biden as her secretary of his secretary of energy, which is another job that she royally stunk at.
Boy, she failed miserably. He never had any energy.
When the taxpayers of the state of Michigan found out that, on that, as we've mentioned in several past things, the governor's mansion on Mackinac Island. Okay. The last three governors have visited in their full terms. They do their 3 terms and then they got to go away. I think now they've lowered it to 2 terms because the witch in Lansing now can't run for re-election, and she's come up to the end of her 2nd term. Grand total, the last 3 governors, they have probably been to the governor's mansion a grand total of maybe 20 times between the 3 governors. Three for the last 2 governors because they go up there for this big, whatever you want to call it, Michigan something or other, where all these business and politicians and everybody get together at the Grand Hotel. And when the politicians go, the taxpayers are on the hook for $600 a night hotel rooms and everything else because they all stay at the Grand Hotel.
They used to call those toga parties, didn't they?
Well, I got some other names for them, but it is a family-friendly channel after all.
Eyes wide shut.
But most of those visits, with the exception of that Michigan, whatever you want to call it, was our current governor, after she told us, you can't travel. You and your family that live together under the same roof, if you get in a car and drive to your vacation home, you'll give each other the stuff. I don't want to say the trigger word for YouTube. But you'll get what was going on in 2020 if you and your family get in the car and drive from your primary residence to your vacation home. Oh, where's old Gretch today? Oh, she's up at the governor's mansion on Mackinac. I thought we couldn't travel.
Yeah.
But all that time
having lunch with Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, exactly. Flying down to Florida to pick fights with DeSantis. But all that time that mansion is not occupied, nobody there. Her executive protection detail is not even there for anything. We, the taxpayers of the state of Michigan, are still paying for a full-time butler, a full-time gardener, a full-time maid, and full-time maintenance people just for that. And there's nobody.
I just don't
there.
understand it. I just don't understand it. How could anybody justify something?
But
like that?
But if we start screaming and hollering, cut that. You don't, pay somebody part-time. SMC, you are not kidding, buddy. She literally, I thought, and this will go back to, and I'll go back as far as I can remember. The last decent governor we had in Michigan was Milliken, and I may be Asian myself to some.
Yeah, I don't know who. Thanks for coming in, Mike. Have a good night. Say hi to the family for me.
Have a good night, Mike. Thanks for popping in.
Such a good dude there.
And Governor Milliken was the governor when I was a little kid.
Well, now, okay, yeah. Now you might. Who was president when Milliken was governor? That there's more people that will understand that one probably than
we're going back to we're gonna say Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan's first
mid-70s, late 70s.
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And then
I remember him.
Then we got Jim Blanchard. Had his good points, more bad than good, but he had his good points too. He did some good stuff for the state. Then we got John Engler. John Engler was the one that decided on a warm early fall day in the year 2000 that 2001, that we were no longer, the state is not responsible for having anything to do with the funding of mental health care. So we watched the likes of the Detroit Medical Center, because they had a state-funded psych unit at one of their hospitals. They had a psychiatric hospital on the east side of Detroit that was known as Lafayette Clinic, Northville State Hospital, Walter Reuther State Hospital, the Hawthorne Center, which was a juvenile psych hospital. Unlocked their doors, hand their patients their property. Some of these people hadn't been outside in 20 years and had to let them all go, and released all of these psych patients in varying degrees of mental illness out into the public.
There's a facility just across the river in Council Bluffs called Jenny Edmonds. That kind of went through the same thing. I'm pretty sure that the community and some others got together and kind of bailed them out for a while, but that's a shame, man. That's everything that's wrong.
Oh yeah, and that's just Michigan. I can imagine what's going on across the rest of the country.
Oh yeah.
But
and of all times to get rid of it,
that think that's acceptable.
Of all times to get rid of a now, see, Omaha's going the opposite direction. They're doing everything they can to, like our monthly PAC meeting at the precinct here. By the way, Omaha OPD has the distinct honor of having 100% clearance on homicides in Omaha for 2 years in a row. 23 and 24, they cleared all and made arrests in all homicides in the city. And
that's what I'm talking
and
about.
it's way down. But I forgot what I was talking about before that. What the heck? Oh, they're trying to. They built this brand new multi-million-dollar facility for juvies. Yeah. And it's half the number of beds that they had in the current facility.
Right.
And it was full before they opened it up.
Oh yeah.
And all they're doing the age group for most shootings in this town, murders in 2024 or 2023 was 13 to 15 age group.
Yeah.
13 to 15.
Right. It's sad, but that sounds about right.
And they're putting these kids in there. Literally, there was a 13-year-old shot somebody a block from my house.
Yeah.
Killed one and injured another. Anyway, long story short, before the paperwork was done, the arrest paperwork was done, it was turned over to, parental custody.
Yeah, that's the thing that
you,
always burned me about juveniles.
how in the world, and then they squawk if they're laughing and smiling in court, and they, because they know they're a juvie. That's
Right.
that's what the gang activity around here, according to the authorities here, is the gang activity is
Well,
really turned to making mules out of the little 13 to 16, 18-year-olds,
right.
and having them out doing the dirty work while because
yeah.
they know they'll just get out.
Well,
And,
we had ways of dealing with them, making them into mules when I was still working. They
I've been stacking,
and it was kind of funny because I actually saw it again. I had a video pop up in my suggested things, and this is something where that when when the TV shows will say the people portrayed here are fictitious, but can it sometimes be based on actual
cases,
things that have happened out in the real world? And it was a clip from Blue Bloods. And the thing is, there are people that remember me doing this, where we would roll into an area like the Jeffries projects, the Brewster Douglas projects, the Connor Creek projects, Herman Gardens. You knew we were feeling really brave or eating our Wheaties if we went into Herman Gardens. That was crazy.
Brewster was pretty rough, wasn't it?
Herman Gardens, I had guys that I worked with at the beginning of my career as the end of their career. And I am in no way, shape, or form making fun of these gentlemen. It's just a comparison. These guys were Vietnam vets, and they would not go in there without backup.
Yeah.
And they had already seen every kind of crap you could see on the face of this planet. And that place scared them. But we would go in there, and these dealers, they didn't give two toots. They'd want, yo, man, why are you messing with my people? And blah, blah, blah. You can't arrest them, blah, blah. Oh, who said I'm arresting them? Well, they taking them away. Where they take them? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. These people, these guys right here, the ones with the cars that say Detroit Public Schools Police. No. Those are truant officers. And we're going to come back here every day with the truant officers if they're not in school when the first bell of the day rings at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh, and it drove them nuts. It drove them nuts.
Good for you.
Well, I had a few people that didn't like me in a few areas that I would not frequent off duty, like the western suburbs of Detroit, which weren't that far away from Herman Gardens.
Yeah.
But no, it's just there's and the way things are going now, so many government entities don't want to get their hands dirty for anything. And I will give you a prime example without putting too many details out there. The hospital that I work at gets a lot of traffic from obviously the area communities, some nicer than others, but literally 3 miles away from our hospital, we have a state hospital. They handle adults, they handle minors. Minor patient gets brought to us because she tried to hurt herself, and they don't have medical, they just have psych on site at the hospital.
Yep.
So they bring her to us to get stitches, whatever, get checked over head to toe and that, get a medical clearance. Well, the two workers that they sent with her, they couldn't have chased down a little kid that just learned how to walk, let alone a 16-year-old girl that was built like an Olympic runner. And she decided she didn't want to be there anymore. Well, by the time we get called, she's already out the door. She bolts out the door. They say, hey, she's running. We get out the door and she's already across the street into the neighborhood. Okay, now we have to call the city police. You know, the city police wouldn't do anything about it.
Really?
Okay, we have an escape patient from a state psych facility, and she's a minor. You have to go find her, try to find her, and if you find her, bring her back. Well, no, we don't. She's not on petition. Okay, which is, you know, if you're having a mental issue, I can take you to the hospital, fill out a petition, and they got to hold you for 72 hours. Okay. She's not on petition. Okay, well, in the state of Michigan, first off, you can't petition a minor. And she's in that hospital on the order of a judge. You got to go get her and bring her back. They wouldn't go look for her. That's part of our problem.
Yep.
And then we've got, and especially in Michigan, we have a lot of liberal prosecutors. We have a very liberal state attorney general. She'll throw the book at you for having too many drinks on St. Patrick's Day, but there's video of her getting into a, for lack of a better term, a pissing match with one of our local media guys, and she ended up slapping him. He never touched her, never raised his hand, never raised his voice, but she slapped him. But that was okay. She didn't get charged with a crime for hitting him because it was in Wayne County.
Wow, that's
Yep.
it's just it's like lunch with it's the standard lunch with the governor of California kind of thinking, you know, like do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, Parrot 5 says you got a puppy. Sounds like that's Marty the Wonder Dog and Franny, my little class clown.
He must be too famous.
She is. To this day, my YouTube videos that got the most views are the dogs, the Cranky canines. I think the highest was like 8,000, but yeah, and I don't mind playing second fiddle to those two. They're the best daggone dogs I ever had.
That's okay. I've tried to get my guard cat on video, and he runs and hides every time he sees the camera. So that's
when they started barking, I muted the mic for a second, but I actually was going to turn my camera because it's getting about supper time for him.
Yep.
And cousin Stella, the pug, was staring at me through the through the glass door here. Just standing there staring, and just about the time I started to pick the camera up and turn it, Marty barked, and she jumped about 2 inches up in the air and came down facing the other way. It was that's poor little blind melon. We call her blind melon because she's like 8 years old, and she cannot see literally a foot past her face. It's getting kind of sad because you drop a bite of meat for her and you gotta literally
guide her
point it out to her. Yeah, that's sad. Yeah, Becky. Hi, Becky. My dogs are pretty cute. I gotta admit, Franny's a hoot. She's the funny one, and Marty's always on the job. She got up with me about 3 o'clock the other day. Marty did, and she has this perch that she gets on, and she's 75 pounds.
Yeah.
Franny's like 94 now, and but Marty gets up on the arm of the love seat and puts her front paws up on the back of it and flips the curtain open around the back of her head so she can look out the window. And there was a coyote. We've got a big den of coyote. There's 2 dens out like 15 feet off my fence in the back. And she saw one of them cut across the road and start back towards the den there. And I let her out the door and she was on it. And that, I would be real surprised that coyote didn't run straight past the den back there because she was right on it.
Her turf.
You betcha. She's a good one.
Well, yeah. Speaking of coyotes, I was at yesterday morning. I almost hit one on the freeway on the way home. But the people around here say that we don't have coyotes here.
Yeah, you do. We call them coyotes. little peanut.
Well,
When
that's
he
why
was
I said
when he was a
something.
little smaller, he called them coyotes.
Oh,
So
I had one of my neighbors that told me I was nuts because one night we're all outside and it was a real still night, just unusually still night around here.
yeah.
And I said to the neighbor, I said, "You hear that off in the distance? Well, what is that?" That's coyotes. They were kind of, where they chatted each other. They make their little, whatever you want to call it. Oh, come on! No, we don't have coyotes down here. Well, 3 people that like to leave their small dogs out on their decks at night came out and found their small dogs gone the next morning.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it is. Nobody listens to Michi.
Michi, I probably would have been just true to myself up there. If that had been me up there where you're at, I would have probably gone with the whole hog and said, "Yeah, that's wolves," and they really sound hungry, and they have been known to eat people up to 14 years of age, and Parrot 5 said, I didn't mean to take us off topic. Parrot, one thing you'll learn about this stream with me and Michi is that there is no topic.
We go.
There is no topic, and everything's topic. Yep, that's right. If there's a gravel road to the left and a gravel road to the right, we'll find a way to get them both.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we don't always get on here and talk about metals. We'll just, because sometimes we all just need a break from everything that's going on in the world, or we get a lot of there's a lot of gloom and doom out there on YouTube, and it does get people's heads and scare the heck out of them. And if we can pull everybody back, just have some fun. And like I said earlier, hey, today we're talking about why the sky's blue and the grass is green, and who's the better hockey team, the Washington Capitals or the Detroit Red Wings? Just silly stuff like that, just to just get
levity.
there, talk, have a good old time. And
that's right.
Just like I've said before, we're all sitting around a really big table, having coffee and shooting the breeze.
That's right.
For lack of
That's
a better
exactly
way to
put it. And like Becky said, flying by the seat of our pants. That's our
right.
Yep.
That's
Hi,
right.
show me.
I know the thumbnail might have
Thanks, Parrot.
off today, but I told Cranky, I said I'm busting out our baseball alter egos today. So if you're looking at the thumbnail, the guy on the right, that's for the Toledo Mud Hens, and the guy on the guy on
stage
the
left, stage right.
Looking at it. Stage left, stage right. The guy on the left is the Toledo Mud Hens. The guy on the right is the Omaha Storm Chasers. So, but actually, the AAA team for your guys is the Redbirds, and I can't remember what city they're from.
Nashville, I think, isn't it?
Yes, Nashville.
Yeah. See, you'd think I'd know that, but I go clear back to like Bob Gibson was playing when I was a kid. Bob Gibson, he was from Omaha here, actually. Bob Gibson, Lou Brock, Kurt Flood, Orlando Cepeda, Tim McCarver. I mean, Dal Maxwell. I mean, there were so many heroes in their lineup, and not just baseball heroes. They had some bodacious teams, but there were some truly fine quality gentlemen that played baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals over the year, and their organization.
I will say this because I was a Mark McGuire fan until he beefed up.
Yeah.
And then I lost all respect for him when I found out that he and Canseco and Sosa and Bonds were juicing to get that big. So
Becky says Bobby Orr
asterisk next to his name for where he beat that home run record.
Becky, finish your sentence there. Bobby Orr what? Get it? Boy, I got crickets on that one, eh? Bobby Orr what? Nobody gets it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right. She said Bobby Orr. Or what? Finish. No, I'm just.
Well,
Anyway.
okay. We're on the topic of hockey for a second, and I am no way, shape, or form a Washington Capitals fan. And I know there are a lot of people that do not like Alex Ovechkin solely based on the country he was born in. But I have got to say, and I know he's not going to see it, but we might have some Capitals fans out here who do. Congratulations to Ovechkin. Somebody finally beat that jerk Gretzky off the damn record books.
Well, there you go. This day in history.
Wayne Gretzky scored 894 goals in his career. He was the one that knocked Gordie Howe off the chart when he beat his goal scoring record. Sorry, he had a peanut but on the wrong way. And yesterday, Ovechkin went in, scored goal number 895 to knock Gretzky off the chart. So,
okay, so we're missing some barbecue talk here, it looks like. Yeah. Definitely pork, but it does depend on the cut now. Right.
If you're making burgers, beef. If you're making ribs, pork.
I tell you what, it's really hard to beat a smoked brisket, bro.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You get some burn ends on that. Holy moly!
It knows what they're doing.
Yeah. You got to have about a half-inch smoke ring on that.
Yeah. I've had some brisket that you could sand the floors with. So
yeah. And that used to be like the cheap cut of meat, and now it's like premium.
Oh,
it's
crazy.
Craziness.
Yeah.
We do. We usually just do a pork butt, and I got a Puerto Rican friend that showed Lori how to do pulled pork, and man, oh man, it's good. He always uses apple juice and dry mustard and.
Well, that's like, I laugh. I was just thinking about saying it, and GSF beat me to it. The belly, everybody there. So many people are, ew, pork belly. But what do you think they make bacon from? And you eat bacon like it's going out of style.
Yep. Hey, Check Stacker, how you doing? Good to see you.
Hey, Check.
They my mom bought a pig recently in Missouri, and man, I got to tell you what, when I went back to visit her and got stuck there, the bacon on that, oh my gosh,
right.
Just it's not even close to what you get in the store. Which, by the way, brings me to a point of contention with me, and we, Nebraska is.
I'm going to leave you for a second. I will be right back. I just step away from the thing for a second.
Do that. Yep. So here we go, folks. This is my social warrior, justice warrior thing here for you today. Support local growers as best you can. Find beef somewhere local. Find local pork, things like that. It's nothing against the Chinese people, but Smithfield is the largest pork producer in the country, and they're all over Nebraska, and they have really good bacon, but I don't buy their product anymore because it's not A, it's mass produced, B, it is who knows what's in it anymore. Thank you, Bill Gates and others, and it's just it supports local people, and it's so much better quality, so much better for you. So there's my platform for today, and I'll get off my soapbox, but that's where I'm coming from on pork and beef. If you can buy it local, do it. It's usually a better deal anyway. If you can come up with enough to buy at least a quarter beef, that's a super way of going. Yeah, show me. I'm with you there. Show me. Are you from Missouri? Are you in Missouri? because I grew up in Missouri. Just wondering. Yeah, scallops. You know what? Those are good on a grill too. Yeah, I gotta tell you, grilled scallops is absolutely wonderful. And barbecue chicken is really hard to beat. My brother had a recipe for barbecue sauce that was really simple, and it was the absolute best ever on chicken. But if I can ask, show me whereabouts in Missouri. Living in Southwest, okay. So you're over around. Let me see here. You were probably over by Cape Girardeau, Carthage, over there. I went to school in Springfield. Grew up in Missouri and up in the north central part. But there you go. Yep. What a great place. If I'm glad you are. If anybody ever tells me,
you guys talking about food, so I hurried up and ran back. So.
There you go. Anybody tells me there's any place prettier than the Ozarks, North Arkansas, and South Missouri, I'll call them a liar. Born Sikeston, okay. I used to work with a guy I worked for a guy that was from Sikeston, kind of a gangster. Yeah, I'll have to tell you that story sometime. I worked one night for the guy.
Yeah, GS, we got a little bit of rain snow mix down here today, so I don't doubt it's snowing up there still.
Oh, are you getting snow?
Yeah, they are up by him.
Yeah, see, Farmer, we're down here in Nebraska. We're supposed to get down to 27 degrees tonight. I'm afraid it's going to freeze my leaves off my peach tree again this year. But well, show me. Thanks for. I'm glad you came in because that's always nice to meet and I know there's a lot of nice people in a lot of places, but you just will not find better people than Kansas and Missouri, and you just won't. They're fine people. Yeah, I know. I know they're up there. But
Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Kansas, Missouri, and Michigan for sure. Right? Yeah, well, that's where most of my experience is. There, look, my silver journey says it's 63 where he's at. I love it.
It's supposed to be like that up around here. It's supposed to be like that around here, like weekend and the next week. So hopefully they're not lying.
2 weeks ago we were 76 degrees. Wednesday and Thursday we had the worst snowstorm of the year, and it was down to like 7 degrees again. I'm not digging it. Well, Michi, I probably ought to be getting on with things here. There's always something to do.
An hour and 40 minutes.
Little blind melon. Here she comes. This is so cute. Look at her. Can you see her?
Oh yeah. Here, let me make you big here.
Stella.
There we go.
Can you see her? Stella.
There she is.
Stella.
There she is.
She's looking around at you. Hello. Yeah, she's coming over to say, hey man, it's time to get down to business and get ready, get us some food.
She's like, yo, my bowl's empty.
Yeah. Well, hers and everybody else's when it's time for chow, it's time for chow.
There you go.
So
so we're pushing an hour and 40. So we
fair enough. That's about our normal, ain't it?
The kids are staring you down with that, you're looking mighty tasty stare.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some stuff done around here because it's a short couple days off for me, and after tomorrow I'm on for 12 straight. So hey, gotta get that money while we can.
Yeah, well, you won't be getting any taxes on your overtime in the future here. Huh?
Yeah.
There you go.
So, but all right, everybody.
How come all that stuff happens when I'm done working? I don't understand.
Well, you know what? It just our employers do what they do, and Uncle Sam does what they're going to do, and I almost want to move to one of those states that doesn't have state income tax. There's a few.
Well, I'm thinking we should just all go to Florida. I mean, yeah, you have an occasional hurricane, but you got no property tax, period. None.
Right. Yeah.
On real estate or anything. That's about the best, most American thing I've heard in a long time.
Right. And maybe we'll get it passed where our seniors don't have to pay income tax on the tax they paid when they were paying into Social Security.
Yeah. Which I think there should be some retribution on that, or some restitution. What do they call that? Restitution.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm claiming age discrimination.
I still can't wrap my mind around them. Okay, they take that out of your check as a tax, and then when you start giving it back to you, you got to pay a tax on the tax. So,
I got all kinds of stuff busting loose. The doggies are on point, and Grandma Cranky's calling me, so I better say goodnight to everybody. Thanks everybody for coming in. Right. Absolutely appreciate it. And Michi, thanks for having me as always.
You got it, brother. We're gonna do it. We'll do it again in 2 weeks.
We will.
We'll figure out whose channel we're doing it on, and we'll let you know. So
I'll even wash my pants between now and then, so we'll have clean seat to fly by.
There you go.
All right,
everybody. Have a great night. Keep stacking. Keep hunting. We'll see you in the next one.
Stay safe, y'all.
Cranky are out.
Angels.